Does that
Okay,
make sense?
I will explain you. When you do drill 4, and because you are doing 3 actions at the same time, it means that you are in subconscious mode.
Mm, mm,
Subconscious mode allows you to be multitasking.
mm,
So when you listen, repeat, and type, you type the word which you just listen and repeat it. But you continue repeating, and since you can do multitasking, subconscious allows you to do it. You start typing this word which you heard and you start typing it, but you continue repeating the other words. Then
mm.
you pick up another word, then another word, and so on. Not what you remember, because that is you cannot confuse this. You are doing multitasking, but with the same objective. You are in drill 4. So you
Mhm.
listen, speak, and type. Start typing, and because typing is also a subconscious activity, you start typing, for example, what you heard in the lesson, wonderful. But you continue repeating it's a wonderful journey and you will go blah, blah, blah. But
Mm.
wonderful to type takes time. So you continue and you finish typing wonderful. But without stopping your typing, you continue repeating. Do you understand the?
Mhm. Mm, mm,
And thus, first, you reinforce the habit of automatic typing. Typing
mhm.
is automatic. However, some students who are not aware of it, they try to type consciously, and that's why they're typing very slowly with one finger and so on. But if you do it correctly, then you understand that it's automatic, and you can complete it while doing the other thing.
Mm.
That is
Now,
continued repetition. Do you understand it?
yes, I do. What is the difference between typing the words as you're listening and watching and writing them on a piece of paper? Is it the same thing or is it different with the typing? Do they have to type?
Uh, actually, before that advancement and so on, in the first versions of the program, which were created on a computer, it was allowed to type, to write on the paper. It is, and however, nowadays, since most learners are digital learners,
Mm,
it's also a notion to Meredith. We were talking with Meredith about what is digital learners. Today, 99% of learners are digital. For them,
mm,
it's easier to type. They
mm,
always type, and they use their smartphone for hours a day in average in the world. So, of
mm,
course, they should type. It's similar
mm,
to writing on a paper, but the paper doesn't have any advantage at all.
mm. Because I'm going to be working with adults that weren't born with a mobile phone or a tablet in their hand. Um, and I just wondered if there's any difference in the learning, in the acquiring the skills between typing and writing it on piece of
There is no big difference, although most adults will prefer typing, whatever they prefer. In some
paper.
cases, now it is allowed to use writing.
Yeah,
If he is too old, cannot type, etc., but it's a rare, rare case.
being the
Heather,
response.
one thing you should also remember,
The red
and
is kind of hard to,
I
the red
call
is
it
kind of hard to read.
MAST implementation. And it's a very nice acronym which Meredith suggested, Mobile Application for Subconscious Training. And I like the phrase, MAST is a must. MAST starts, I think it's better to start it with creating a bilingual flyer about MAST. By creating a flyer, you have to read all the materials which I sent to you. I can send to you also the draft of the latest ebook. On website, a lot of materials, and you can and probably watched a few recordings. So you know a lot about this method. Now you have to select the most important thoughts and explain in a flyer briefly why the current methods didn't work, why you cannot memorize words and then use them fast enough to speak fluently. So by creating a flyer, it's important to create it in two languages. So if you cannot write, or definitely can write in native language, but if you cannot do it in English, do Google Translate and then ask somebody to edit it. It must be in English also because, first of all, we'll be able to, the more schools we have, the more implementation we have, we'll be able to share those flyers and create the best one from an amalgam, from a combination of all flyers to create the most vivid, bright flyer that will attract attention of your students and teachers. The first meeting, if you have a beginner, should be done as a learner. Your learner is only a beginner, so he doesn't understand English. He knows only a little bit. He can read a little bit, but he cannot speak, he cannot talk. Then preferably to do, if it is possible, the first meeting in the native language. Because he should understand everything what you put in your flyer and everything what you want to explain to him why he was not successful up to now. Maybe he learned English 5 years and he still doesn't speak. He still is a beginner because it is not possible to remember words. By the way, the very topic is not possible to remember words. I can talk or deliver a whole lecture on that separately. I wouldn't go into details. But now it becomes obvious it's not possible to remember words. And that's why we have such a poor results in most countries, in China, Japan, Brazil, in some of the most advanced industrial country, Japan, has the lowest English proficiency because they try to remember English words as translation into Japanese, and it's not possible to use. It's useless. So you explain that this is a completely different method. Then second, keep in mind that you have to provide tablets to all students. You explain to if you are working like Eliana, maybe you will work to say in the nearest future with the established language school, and they will ask you why to provide tablets. They are expensive. First of all, this method is 5 times faster, at least 5 times faster, because at least students speak 5 times more than in any conventional class. So you will save a lot of money by having much less number of lessons required to become fluent. And tablets allow to have the lesson not only and to use this mobile application in the class, but after the class. And it's very important because even after the course, they can still use this tablet And nowadays, in most countries of the world, you can buy a tablet under $100. In Australia also, Heather, because you have to know what and how to buy. I will tell you,
It's
I
very expensive.
guarantee that you can buy under $100 because you should know first, it should be 8-inch. It's not a modern and latest Android tablet. It's only 8-inch. Secondly, if you buy it even from China, then it would be much cheaper. And if you buy for a class 10 or 20, it is cheaper again. So it is not expensive at all. And there is for those who are financially have difficulties, there's even another option to buy in second-hand store a very cheap old tablet and still use it. If your learners, students have Android smartphone, they can use it. It's not necessary to buy a tablet. However, I recommend if it is a class and and it has 10 or even 20 students, best if they all will have the same type of tablet. They will work together. In this way, they can work, by the way, sometimes it's a good idea to work in pairs. So one student becomes a teacher, he listens to the other. The other is a student, and then they swap. And so the best, fastest way to learn is to become a teacher. And the easiest way to do it, it would be to use the same tablets. And you are used to them and you are used to their functionality. Now, you have to, first of all, to start your acquaintance with these new methods by downloading application from Google Play Store and playing with it. Without playing with it, you would not understand how different it is, or you would not understand, for example, how to use support in the native language. For example, Heather made a mistake. She downloaded and using support, she used Chinese text and translated it with Google, which is wrong, although on the first display there's Chinese text. But of course, you should do it from the drill 2, which has a complete, original, authentic English text, which you translate. Even if you're in your class, you have different levels. And by the way, if you look at this infographic, the number 4 in the first paragraph, you see testing English skills. I recommend before you start your lessons, you test your students, and it has the following objective. First, you determine their level. It may be beginner or intermediate, it doesn't matter. The method is unique in that it doesn't matter because in both cases, beginner and even intermediate, first, they can be in the same group. Secondly, they can work together because basically they are unlearning what they've learned before, and they're opening new way for subconscious training. So their previous experience is not that important because in most cases, the even intermediate student, it is a student who still thinks in his native language and is able to translate quickly enough so that he understands mostly, not all, and can even express himself. But it is still a combination mostly of his native language translated fast enough. What we need is a completely new English speech center, which would be formed after you complete all 31 lessons of this application. And it's also very important to do testing English skills because at the end or after 5, 10, 20 lessons, you can repeat the testing and quantitatively you can determine and demonstrate the success of your students. Nothing attracts more than a real shown success. About testing, as you know, this application has testing built in. I do also have an additional special testing program, very similar to the one which is built into the application. I can send it to you. You may also select a more standardized testing. Some of them are nowadays inexpensive, and especially if the student wants something more standardized, because our testing is not standardized, you can use either Duolingo or there is another company called Progress. So if you will come and you would want to learn more about testing and how to do testing, ask me again and we'll go into details how to do testing. Keep in mind that it is very important not only to know the level, but to show and measure the real progress of the student. The second paragraph in this infographic, select the business model. What I have here in mind, first, of course, is a language school. If you have a language school, of course, it's easy to transfer to the new technology. You need only a few sessions or just watching. I have done already 4 or 5 recordings. You just watch all those sessions and maybe ask for one additional session, checking if you understood the technology, and you can start implementing it in your language school. By the way, Eliana, it's a question for you. I understand that you know Jobber very well. Are you familiar also with his language school? To go to any great language school and to show them, please. You see that you work for years and years, and your students are very slow in progress. You cannot show, nobody can demonstrate a great success. Now, let's do it in a new way. It is at least 5 times faster. On the next option as a next business model, online MAST group lessons. What that means? You offer online mobile application subconscious training group lessons when they can, the students can sign up online and you again explain them the method, introduce the method, explain where and how to download, and explain that it is self-learning. And because this self-learning uses so different approach, so innovative that they can, although it is self-learning from one side, but from other side, they won't be able to do it without your help. So you need it as a coach or guide, and in group lessons, you do the same as you do nowadays in a language school, but you do it online, like we do now on Zoom. So in group class, you may have up to 20 students. And of course, in this case, you can allow each student to pay not $25 that they pay now for private lessons, but to pay $5. And still, it would be much more profitable for them and for you, because group lessons are ideal environment for this methodology. You understand this?
Yeah.
And there is a difference. It's one thing language schools, another thing online MAST group lessons. And here, although you can do in such a way that group lessons can be organized every day, and they can join either 2, 3, or 4 group lessons. It's according to their choice and preference, and according their actual skills for self-training. So it's very flexible, and it gives big and great results, especially so that in group lessons they can also have an option to participate in group. That is, you allow like share a screen of one student, then the other students, and they listen to it, they share their knowledge, they give recommendation, they become teachers, and so they're both student and teachers. This is a new approach to online group lessons. The next model, it is pretty similar to this, but it is specially designed for China. It would be great if Sherry listens to it, especially for put it into infographics for sharing. Online self-tutoring with technical support. What that means. It is what is here different that although we use the word self-learning, but we can use the word self-tutoring. It's similar, however, there are some differences. The differences is not in application, but in some attributes or in some approach to it. In China, you probably don't know details if you are not as engaged with any activity with China. Currently, language industry in China was destroyed completely last year. Do you know that language industry in China was destroyed, and how? Who knows?
Yeah.
I do. I know that they stopped having foreigners. You know, our language schools based in other countries were banned. So a lot of people who've joined these teaching platforms couldn't teach in China. And
Yep.
Yeah, you are right. And I will add a few words. Chinese government last year in July issued a government order which prohibits to use profitable organization for tutoring. So it should be only non-profitable, it should be only local, and no foreigners are allowed to receive profits from tutoring in China. In one day, they lost 50% of revenue in language industry. And I must say that it seems like a very illogical, strange decision of the government. But you know, it has a great, actually, significance. Significance in that, and a few other educators noticed that the government knows that the current methods of learning English in China do not work. And that's why they decided to just disrupt it completely and waiting for a new solution. So we offer now a new solution because mostly you will do self-tutoring because using tutors, especially foreign tutors, is not allowed. But what is allowed to use self-tutoring program. Now, since tutoring is not allowed, what is allowed? Technical support is allowed. Imagine that do you know that the largest language company in the world, a so-called iTutor group in China, before this decision, their evaluation was about $1 trillion. It's unbelievable. Their revenue, the number of students, etc. And then they were broken into half. They now hardly exist. But if they will start using mobile application, and you can start it just as a pilot project, or just offering for a certain Chinese for a school in China, and use it for self-tutoring, and it has support in Mandarin. It knows much more than any English teacher knows because it can create even new lessons for you. It can read them any lesson for you without accent. And so any teacher, even Chinese, non-native teachers, Chinese who maybe have a very great Chinese accent, they can become excellent teachers if they know technology, if they understand how to use this application. So online self-tutoring with technical support.
So when you say technical support, what does that involve?
That involves
showing them
it,
how to use the app?
no, technical support means it's actually the same as as group lessons, but you do not call them group lessons just to avoid the Chinese government decision. But if you call it a group technical support, and you actually answer questions, you do not teach them English. You teach them how to self-learn, how to do self-tutoring. That is why it is quite logical to call it technical support, and it avoids the current status quo in China. Now, the last line in retraining ESL schools. Eliana, we covered it briefly because this line is designed specially for you. And by the way, you have mentioned that probably for you are not a teacher, you are not interested to becoming a teacher, but maybe you will find here a great potential for becoming affiliate, and to becoming that affiliate that will turn the language schools in Brazil upside down. Take one school at a time, at a step, offer them a free webinar, demonstrate what it can do for them, and then offer retraining. Retraining could be done either by you, if you learn more, or you can contract us to do the retraining. Maybe you will present at retraining first, and then you will be able to do retraining. Because if you watch all those recordings which I already created, you will know all the details which you need to apply and to be able to answer any question which may arise. If you know fundamentals, you can answer any question. So, so far, do you have any questions on these two paragraphs of these infographics? I have hundreds of documents. I have thousands of PowerPoint presentations. I have thousands of video recordings. All that is enough to learn about it. The problem is that very often we put barriers inside us, because to be open-minded is very difficult. You never heard about it. And whatever I say, you as if hear it, but you are not actually realize it completely. That's why sometimes you will need repetition of the same recording or reading the same presentation again. But we do provide support in retraining whatever model you choose. Keep in mind that you should start doing. The best way to start is to create a flyer, of course, in Portuguese. Then you will translate it into English. Because otherwise you will listen, but listen is not learning. Okay? The only way of learning is doing.
Yeah.
And even this application, what it does, it creates environment for experiencing, for doing English all the time. That's how you learn. Especially if you allow it for your subconscious and take away your ego, take away your conscious control, because your subconscious has unlimited power, unlimited ability to multitasking. It has direct connection to the long-term memory, and you would not forget anything because it doesn't use short-term memory where everything is stored only for 30 days, and then everything is erased if it is not used. Eliana, of course, that could be done, but the most important thing is to do it. Even, you know what, I have now an idea. Since you listened more to it than Jobber, I think that now you have to teach Jobber and start teaching them or explain him more about it, because you now know more and than he does. He has a school, great school, many students, but you cannot compare, because I've seen, first of all, using PC nowadays, it's illogical. Secondly, because everybody uses now a smartphone. And what I saw on a website, at least, he uses PC, which has no meaning, because if you use it for 1 or 2 hours in school, when you are in school and then you go home and then you forget everything. You have to use your application all the time. In school, after school, in evening, on weekends, and you can do it because it's the same application which you use in class, after the course. So there's so many things which should be done differently, and it's much more efficient, it's much more useful for students. So it's a great profit. Do you see, Eliana? I share with you in Google Play Store. It is called Subconscious Training English.
Yes, but
You find it. And here it will be installed. You click install, but it will require you to pay $4.99. If you paid it, then you click open and it opens this application. Yeah, it's this one, correct. You click on this, and then if you have an account with Google Play Store, because it will check, you must be a member of Google Play Store.
you know?
Yes, you go there later, you pay $4.99, and the application is for you forever. And then when you open application, you click on this button, you see it shows you that it's the latest version, which was created this year. This, if you click on this button,
The
question,
Language Bridge Technology application starts with a words cloud.
It opens explanation how it works.
Okay.
And you can listen and read. And remember that whatever lesson you open, if you open this lesson, for example, you always have these two lines. You click on them and it explains what to do.
Aloud the recorded text using headphones.
Now, if you
simultaneously with the speaker with a delay of 1 or 2 words and without.
You see what I've done now? I've copied this English text. Click on copy.
Follow the English text with your.
And then you can open Google Translate, and here is the text. And you can translate into it any language. Russian, Portuguese. You see how many languages there are? Portuguese. Okay. So, first of all, if you click on this,
repeat aloud the recorded text, using headphones and speaking simultaneously with the speaker, with a delay of 1 or 2 words, and without stopping the tape. While doing this, follow the English text with your eyes, and imagine that you are participating in the situation. Do not pay attention to the details.
you understand that this text could be pronounced even, and you can do simultaneous repetition even here. But here it's your Portuguese. And I hope, because usually the accuracy is, sometimes there may be something unclear, but you can always restore by the context. Oh, and by the way, most students do that. So for them, it's not even necessary. So support, by the way, keep in mind that support is needed only if a student asks for it. Otherwise, it's not needed. And otherwise, use only English. So if the student is intermediate or reads better than understands, he doesn't need Portuguese. You use it only in case if needed. Okay. Now, the two other paragraphs, I will briefly cover it because we are reaching our limit time of 90 minutes. After you learned this methodology, you know what is MAST, and you know why it is a must. You write a business plan. A business plan is needed to pitch proposals to potential customers, that is, to your language schools, and present yourself as credible. Online, there's a lot of websites which has templates for business plan, and you have to describe there all those steps which basically we covered now. Why it is different, what it does, how it works, what you suggest to do, having in mind, of course, particularly one business model. If you have in mind language school or online group lesson or self-tutoring, like for China. Okay, and you create the business plan for that. And the last, after you have done all that, you know all that, and you are ready, you sign a contract. I call it with LBT. It's Language Bridge Technology. It's actually a contract with Dr. Voss and Dr. Zilberman. My company is called Language Bridge Technology. That's I use this acronym. The contract open resources of Self-Learning Revolution Academy. You get the license to market all MAST materials. You get a technical support in modifying MAST to adjust to your country and the latest technological advancements. If you have enough financial resources or you find a company who is willing to invest or to support you and to create a specific web application of the next generation, you can do it always. And of course, the contract will also stipulate and will describe how we'll share the profit. Because implementing this methodology, changing the language schools, opening new online groups and group lessons in schools will bring you quite substantial profit. And we are very flexible and honest, and we will discuss with you how are you ready to share the future profits using this intellectual property. You understand that you use not only Android application, you use 2 patents, you use 50 plus articles, 2 ebooks, 10 plus YouTube videos, etc., etc., etc. And of course, our technical support and training. And that will bring you great revenues because you will be in the first line of those who disrupt language industry and improve English proficiency in the world.
Is there any cost to get in, to work with you, to go into a contract with you?
No, there is no cost, and more than that, I do not. We discussed it with Dr. Voss a few times, and we stress that, of course, we want to earn money, but what we want more is to disrupt the language industry. And to start it, we are expanding and giving you away everything what we know, everything what we have, and you do not pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, the first, there was a language school in Columbus as a pilot project, and I charged them for retrainings. For 6 sessions, I charged them $100 per session. But then I decided not to charge you because I want to be more open, for you to understand more, to work more freely and find more and more participants. Let's grow the self-learning revolution together.
Mm.
That's why contract is the last. It's when you already have the feeling, when you already know everything, when you already have written the flyer or even the business plan. Then we will talk about the contract because you will start seeing the results pretty soon. And seeing the results and seeing the potential, you cannot stop it anymore. And then you will be ready for contract and you will be ready for sharing the profit.
Do you have any materials for training instructors to coach? Because you said it's not the instructor just downloading all their knowledge, they're coaching their students. So do you have any materials or any methodology from getting teachers to change from being a teacher to a coach? Or would that be my job?
Heather, we have a few recordings, and I think you have seen two. It's the third one. And don't you think that this is retraining? What else do we need? Or to discussing some specific features or anything, we can organize a special session or webinar to discuss maybe why memorization doesn't work, or why that, or why that. It's going into some details. But actually, you already have seen, I have about a dozen of such recordings, and each recording with a different group of people, with a different company, is actually retraining. That's what I am doing now. And besides, if you go to the website and you click, you have seen the web to the application, but the first web is to ebook. Click on that ebook. For 99 cents, you can download my previous ebook. It explains and describes everything there in details. My next book, Hal Meredith, is editing it now, and it will be published probably in 2 or 3 weeks. But by the way, if you are interested, I think I can even share with you the draft before Meredith editing, because the draft would still have a lot of useful information for you, and then you can start reading draft, and then you will read the ebook itself. If you need, let me know. I will send it to you. But what you want to discuss now, will you prepare? If you wish, you will prepare. I would not prepare any presentation. I will just answer the questions which you have. And if you want something special or specific to be prepared, then shoot me an email.